There's a word that no club, no fan, no player ever wants to be associated with. It's the kind of word that haunts the nightmares of those perilously close to the bottom. It's the kind of word that makes all the decision making that much harder. And lastly, it's the kind of word that baffles the Americans. It's relegation. Over the years, there have been matches with loads of goals flying in and everybody's left feeling thoroughly entertained. However, if your team is close to the bottom, it can often bring tears, agony and absolute heartache if the game puts you in the relegation places or even confirms the dreaded. I'll be discussing that and more on today's episode of How To Surviving Relegation. With the new Premier League season almost upon us, there'll be 3 new teams joining the division, whose efforts last season in the Championship saw them get promoted, and now they'll be dining at England's top table. Let me take you through them. First up is Wolves, whose last Premier League season ended in catastrophic failure in 2011-2012. After that, and a brief period in England's third tier, a resurgence back up the leagues, backed by Chinese owners, has seen them arrive yet again at the Premier League. Although they'll be looking to avoid what happened last time when they set a new club record of 30 consecutive games without a clean sheet. Next up is Cardiff, whose last Premier League season was 2013-14. In fact, it was their only season in the Premier League to date. After disgraced manager Malky Mackay left, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer came in but couldn't halt the club's slide into the relegation zone and out of the Premier League. With wily old fox Neil Warnock in charge this time, they'll be hoping to do a little bit better at least. And lastly, there's Fulham, who came up to the Premier League through winning the playoff final in May. They had a disastrous season back in 2013-14, much like Cardiff did. Both had 3 managers throughout the course of the year and had a midfielder as their top goal scorer with 7 goals. But this time, with new signing Seri from Nice, added to midfielder Tom Cairney and wonder kid Ryan Sessegnon, things could be different for Fulham, and they may well be the league's biggest surprise. So what can teams do to avoid the dreaded relegation and end up back in the Championship? Well, first off, we'll talk about the magical 40-point mark. Now, in years gone by, it seems that 40 is the amount of points that a club should be aiming for if they want to survive relegation. Well, in fact, in the 22 seasons since the Premier League became a 38-game year, it's actually only 37 points that they're needed. However, 40 is still a pretty good benchmark to aim for, unless they're one of the 3 clubs who actually went down with 40 or more points. West Ham holding the record with 42. Firstly, do not concede a hatful of goals like they are going out of style. It stands to reason that the more goals you concede, the less chance you'll have of winning. And all the teams near the bottom of the league have a negative goal difference. That's pretty much why they're there. So don't let your amount of goals conceded overshadow the fact that you might be able to score a few. For example, Blackpool, when they got relegated, had a record high for a relegated team of 55 goals scored. However, they also conceded 78, which ultimately led to their downfall. On the flip side of this, having a good defensive record means that you can then have a good goal-scoring record, if you're lucky enough to have a good goal scorer. In 2016, Sunderland finished 17th and would have gone down had it not been for the goal-scoring exploits of Jermaine Defoe. He bagged 15 goals and the Mackem stayed up, for 1 more year at least. But whatever you do, do not do a Derby County from 2007 to 2008. As they set records that absolutely embarrassed them. There was the most goals conceded by a team in a single season with 89, the fewest goals scored with 20, the fewest wins in the season with just 1, and the fewest points total with just 11. Now, moving from the pitch to the dugout, and my one point is, do not sack your manager. Normally, sacking the manager comes with a bit of a honeymoon period where a team will see an uplift in their performance and an average of 2.5 points gained in the next game. However, it inevitably leads to tragedy after that. Take Fulham back in 2014. They had Martin Jol. They then swapped him for Rennie Meulenstein, swapped him for Felix Magath, and in the end, they still went down. Instead, it's best to stick with your manager. On Christmas Day 2004, West Brom were bottom of the league, but they stuck with Brian Robson, and by the next May, they had just survived relegation, albeit on the last day. Another example is Roberto Martinez. He managed to pull off the miraculous recovery of Wigan for about 3 seasons in a row before finally succumbing to relegation, albeit with an FA Cup title to his name as well. The same goes for Nigel Pearson. Leicester didn't sack him when he was bottom on Christmas Day, and by the following May he'd kept them up with an incredible run of 7 wins in 9 games. The following season, the foundation of confidence, of bravery, of courage was there, and they went on to win the title. My last point is one for every club in the league, not just the relegation candidates. Buy the right player. In 2003, Birmingham did it as they brought in former World Cup winner Christophe Dugarry to help them fight relegation. He scored loads of goals and they did it. Whereas in recent times, Stoke brought in the likes of Bojan, Berahino and Imbula for huge money, and now they prepare for life in the Championship. The point is, don't just go for the big names, buy the right guy for the right situation. So what happens if the unthinkable occurs and a team actually goes down? Well, there's no panic, financially at least. That's because over the next few seasons, they'll receive anywhere between 20 to 40 million pounds in parachute payments. That's to cover the fact they've got Premier League stars on Premier League wages, but they're playing in the Championship. Anyway, let's not look too far in the future. The Premier League season is almost upon us and all 20 teams are eagerly awaiting the start of a new campaign. It's a level playing field where the winner takes all and the loser, well, the loser takes home a lot too.